Kia ora and welcome back. In this chapter, in chapter 15, we're going to be looking at the prompts and curiosity. And this is the next stage in the learning process. So we've already talked about the competencies being the substrate. We've carved a pit into the competencies. We've looked at Carol Dweck's work around mindset in terms of how they go into the pit. And now we're looking at the first stage of actually, why would anyone jump into this pit? And the interesting thing is about us as human beings, and we're really unusual in terms of the animals on this planet and the different species on this planet. We're really unusual in that when we get curious, and animals get curious as well, but when we get curious, we start talking to ourselves. Right? So if we see something extraordinary, if suddenly an asteroid comes tearing through the atmosphere and crashes into the sea, when we see that, the first thing we're saying is, what was that? Where did that come from? You know, we're asking questions and we want answers straight away. And so what that asteroid does is coming hurtling through the atmosphere and burning up. It made us ask questions and we became curious. And therefore we wanted to learn. And so when this happened in the Soviet Union and Russia some years ago now, when that happened, everybody wanted to know everything possible about these things that come from outer space and crash through and actually burn up in our atmosphere and explode in that case. So how do we mimic that in the classroom? And the way we want to mimic that in the classroom is by using prompts to get young people to start thinking about things and being curious and wanting to learn, as opposed to introducing them to a topic of heroes and saying, we're going to study heroes. And the kids go, okay, rightio, that's interesting. Not really, okay. But we want them to actually understand and want to learn. And we want them to drive that learning. And by coming up with a prompt that makes them intrigued and curious, they feel something. And one of the important things about anything, and like we spoke about in terms of driving, the reason boys tend to learn more quickly than girls to drive is simply because they're more excited about the process. They're feeling something. And that's driving their learning, telling their brain, map these patterns now. So we want them to be curious, but we want them to be excited by this. So we can use all sorts of prompts, and we've seen all sorts of prompts used over the years. And those prompts can sometimes be video clips from YouTubes, they can be items and objects, they can be people coming in and talking about something that they're passionate about. We can go to ePals, and on ePals there's thousands of classrooms all around the world looking for connection. So if something happens in a country, rather than going to the newspaper, we actually contact a school that's close by. So if they're in Chile, we can contact a school in Chile that's close by to the event that happened, and they can give us a first-hand report around that. And kids love engaging with other kids around the world. And then they've got this learner-to-learner, and the learner-educator process starts happening because they are educating each other. It's a fantastic, mutually beneficial process. So when we're talking about prompts, we want to prompt them to become curious, because curiosity drives us to ask questions that we want answers to. And if we use these prompts carefully, and initially the teacher, the educator, will actually initiate the prompt, but after a while we'll get the learners to come back and they can come up with a prompt and provide the prompt, and that does not take very long for that transition to happen. In other words, we want to fulfill that expectation around students becoming learner educators. And the more often we can get them up the front of the classroom becoming the educator, then the better. Because that learning they do in that space there as an educator will stay with them forever. And they're surprisingly very, very good at being an educator. So this next stage of this process is about actually having lots of different prompts we can come up with. And don't just use videos all the time, because the kids will eventually sort of go, no, not another video. We want to break that up and make them different, each time using a different type of prompt. And in the book, you'll see a list of the different types of prompts we can use. Use those and make sure you vary them well. Thank you very much, and we'll go back and have a look now at the next chapter, but take care, and we'll talk soon.